Hey guys, I was getting ready to work on something, redoing a shooting log, and I figured I'd do a video on it. This is something I think a lot of casual shooters do not do, and that's keep a shooting log or a shooting book for their firearms. This one in particular is for my Savage 93 R17, and it's the GLV, it's the left-handed version. I've got a video up on it. Essentially, in this book, inside the cover, I have a chart that has my trajectory. As you can see there, Savage 93R 17 GLV with Federal V-Shock. That's the ammunition I chose, and that shoots very, very well out of my gun. 17 grain VMAX bullets. And then I have yardage down the left side and right side, and just to get a somewhat of a spread, I have 40 degrees and 80 degrees, and as you can see, 100 yards is my zero. So I made this up so that I would just could click off for different distances. I have out to 300. That's a bit ambitious for that little 17 grain bullet, but I made this up just so that whenever I was out shooting and everything, I didn't have to do holdovers and everything like that. I could actually click off my distances. The units are in MOA, as you can see at the top there. I just wrote that in to remind myself. You could do inches and stuff like that, but it's a little more confusing if you have to, at 300 yards, you have to adjust 6 inches. Well, how many clicks is that? Versus 100 yards, because your scope is set up for quarter inch or eighth inch at 100 yards. So I did it in MOA, whereas a quarter inch click at 100 yards is also a quarter MOA approximately at 100 yards. It's close enough to where you can just use that. So if I am, for instance, at 150 yards, if I'm on an 80 degree day or around 80 degrees, if I'm minus 1.5, then I need to click up 6 MOA or 6 clicks to get up that 1.5 MOA. So anyhow, have that, and then for the log, I just I sighted it in at 100 yards, and then for one of the days I was out shooting, 6 clicks, adjusted up for 150, and that's my 1.5 MOA that I needed to come up. And then if you notice, I wrote a note, check bullet ballistic coefficient. It was 1.125 is what I used, and I need to check that because I was shooting slightly low at 150 yards even with my 6 clicks up. So yeah, that's pretty much why I stopped using this. I clicked back down to 6, to 100 yards to re-zero, and then checked re-zero at 100 yards on 11, 13, 11. And pretty much stopped using this log at that point because I knew that my chart was off. And that's pretty much why I did this video. Is I'm planning on doing another one. I'm going to use a smaller Right in the Rain. Of course, on the inside cover here, I don't have as much room. I'll have to, narrow down. I'll probably keep it under 200. I mean, 300 yards is, like I said, really ambitious for that, little 17 grain bullet. But it might be fun to keep it out to that kind of distance, just because, I might get a wild hair and decide to sling one out that far. Of course, probably not shooting in any game or anything like that. You don't want it to shoot beyond your abilities and beyond your equipment's abilities on a game. You want to be nice and humanely as possible. Take your game. So anyhow, just thought I'd do a video about this. It's good to keep logs. It's good to know where your gun's zeroed at. Also, another reason for this would be I can take this hunting, throw it in like a vest pocket or something like that, where this is too big to do anything. I mean, it's rather large. So yeah. Also, with recording stuff, you can keep round counts and stuff like that. If you're testing different ammunition, you can write that in there. With the bolt gun, you don't have to worry about springs as much. But if you're, it's not a bad idea to keep pistol logs and stuff like that too. Know when pistol springs are supposed to be changed out, recoil springs, mainsprings, etc. And just keep an idea of your round counts so that you know when to change those springs. Now I don't do that for my rimfire pistols and like my 1022 and my Mark III 2245. They're 22 long rifles, pretty low pressure. I only shoot those, they're plinkers, they're not hunting guns and stuff like that, so I'm not as worried. I don't keep a log of those and everything like that. All I know is thousands of rounds. You clean them when they stop working, and parts rarely break because of Rugers, first off, and if something were to break, then it wouldn't be anything catastrophic to where it, could potentially harm me and stuff like that. Whereas if you're shooting, 40 Smith & Wesson out of a pistol and you have a recoil spring give way, you could potentially have case rupture or something like that. So those are things you guys want to keep in mind. I think a lot of casual shooters don't do this. And this is also a good idea for even just some, hunters that aren't really big on shooting other than outside of hunting season. I mean, I'm sure we all know a guy or two that really only pulls his gun out once, twice a year for hunting season. And he, you ask him, well, when's the last time you zeroed that thing? And he'll tell you, 2 or 3 years ago or something like that, or when he first bought the gun or something like that. I personally know a fella that he missed by a couple of feet, and come to find out, his son, while moving some things around, had knocked over his gun, and it had bumped the scope off, and he never checked re-zero before he actually went out hunting that season. And so he missed a nice sized buck by a couple of feet because he thought he was on and he was not because he hadn't checked it. But these little things, they just help you and remind you to check your guns, you check your zeros, and then, like I said, if you're somewhere where you can shoot out further distances and stuff like that, it's good to know where you're going to be at, whether or not you need to. If you want to hold over, you can do that. I like to click off if I've got the opportunity, so that's why I chose the units in MOA, and if I got the chance, I'll click off and adjust for it, and then of course take my shot, and then click back to my zero of 100 yards. So anyhow, was, like I said, getting ready to redo a chart for my 17 HMR. Got to come up with a better ballistic coefficient. I think the velocity that I'm using is I'm using the factory specs for that velocity, and I think I'm actually probably coming in underneath of that, probably a couple or maybe a few hundred feet per second. Probably a couple, but it's probably enough to throw it off to where I'm, hitting slightly low at 150, like I said. So I'll have to maybe, since I don't have access to a chronograph, maybe go on the forums and ask guys with the same gun if they do have a chronograph and they can fire that particular round for me a couple times, give me a nice spread and an average, so that I can use those numbers for a new ballistic card. So anyhow, just thought I'd do a video on that. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you do the same, or if you have a different method for keeping track of your range times and stuff like that. Yeah, click like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think. Have a good day.